Welcome to Community Group. Hope you're having a good day. I'm Pastor Ranjo, and I have a couple questions to help guide your time tonight. So let's jump in. So this week we continued in our series called Emojional and looked at the emotion of anger and talked about how to deal with that. And Pastor Jason brought out the point that most often anger is a result of someone crossing one of your boundaries. It's a response to your boundary being violated. And we looked at the passage in John chapter 2, verses 13 to 22. It's a famous passage where Jesus clears the temple. And it's famous because it's one of the few passages where we see Jesus react in anger and react in anger with force. And we see that he cleared the temple and kicked out all the money exchangers and people selling doves. The Bible says he made a whip, and so he whipped and he whipped and then he nay-nayed. That's right. Jesus was doing that long before you thought it was cool. But anyway, he cleared the temple, and it was because a boundary had been violated. It's because he didn't want the temple to be a place where business was conducted, but the temple was supposed to be a place of worship. And so the main point of the sermon was, before you act on your anger, stop and assess your boundaries. So here are your three questions. The first, we're going to start by practicing the main point. So the first question is, what is something that just infuriates you? What is something that drives you crazy? And if you have kids, this is an easy question to answer. Really, if you're in a relationship with anybody on the face of this earth, it's easy to answer because we're always stepping on each other's boundaries. But think about something that just drives you crazy. And then I want you to ask the question, why does it drive me crazy? Basically, assess that boundary. Is it the other person's fault, or is it really something that you need to not be so angry about? Like, for example, are you always annoyed with slow drivers because you're late? So go ahead, have some fun with it. So the second question, I want you guys to read the passage together. That's John chapter 2, verses 13 to 22. Read that passage and look at how Jesus responds. And then your question is, how does that make you feel? Does that passage confuse you? Does it make you sad? Does it make you happy or angry? What emotion does that passage evoke? And then why? Talk about why you feel that way and take some time and discuss that. Finally, the last question is there an area in your life where you feel like God is calling you to act in boldness? Maybe as you were listening to the sermon on Sunday, maybe even right now, take some time and think about that. Is there an area where anger is just kind of festering, and where you think that maybe it's time to deal with that anger? Talk about that in your group. Talk about what it is that's making you angry. Assess that boundary. And then I want you to pray for each other that God would give you boldness and wisdom to act in that area. I was in someone's office this week, and there was a little poster on the wall, and it said, "Dear God, please give me patience, because if you give me strength, I'm also going to need bail money." So we're going to pray for strength. We're going to pray for boldness, but also wisdom with that boldness to deal with this issue in a way that not necessarily makes everyone happy, but is honoring towards God and actually upholds this boundary that is good for you. All right, well, I hope you guys have a fantastic time tonight. Blessings.